How's it going, everybody? We're back for another edition of All In, where I'll pick a rock artist, I'll listen to the entire discography, and give my thoughts on it. So, the rules kind of go like this. The artist in question must have 5 or more original albums. Cover albums can count. Generally, I don't talk about live or acoustic albums unless the songs are original to the form. So, here we go. So, we are going to do Red Hot Chili Peppers this week. That's right. So believe it or not, they started way, way back in the 80s. Like, you wouldn't even think it. I never knew this until probably a few years ago. I always thought they didn't start till maybe the late 80s. But yeah, they were around back when hair bands were taking off, if that's hard to believe. So, they have a total of 13 original studio albums. And that doesn't include anything, like any B-sides or any EPs. This is just strictly studio albums they have here. So, they have their self-titled debut all the way back in 1984, ranging all the way from that to their last album from 2022, Return of the Dream Canteen. Kind of a weird title there. So, one was my first memory of hearing Red Hot Chili Peppers, not really any time in particular, but I first remember hearing them whenever their song Under the Bridge made it big, which would have been the Blood Sugar Sex Magic album. And this is when their popularity pretty much took off out of nowhere. So I remember, the first song I think I remember hearing was Under the Bridge, and of course, Give It Away, that was a big one. Breaking the Girl, that was another big one. And I also remember hearing Higher Ground, which was a Stevie Wonder cover, I believe. That was on the previous album to this. But I never got to see them live. Never really, like, this is the only album I actually have on physical. All the others I got on download. So, let's get started. So, we'll start off 1984's Red Hot Chili Peppers. Real catchy looking cover. And it's almost like the sound of this album definitely didn't fit in with what was normal in rock back then. Like I said, hair bands were like taking off at about this time. This album here, it's almost like they sort of have like a 70s funk influence in this album. Of course, we're not far off the 70s here when you think about it. And even, like, judging by the couple of popular covers they have, I mean, they were covered by 70s funk artists. So that's really what their influence was here, especially when you listen to these early few albums here. So, in the self-titled debut album, we have True Men Don't Kill Coyotes, Baby a Pill, Buckle Down, Get Up and Jump, Why Don't You Love Me, Green Heaven, Mommy Where's Daddy, Out in L.A., Police Helicopter, You Always Sing the Same, and Grandpappy Do Plenty instrumental. And then, of course, if you get the bonus edition, you get, like, demos with it. But, yeah, not their best work, but I didn't hate it. It was something different. Then we move on to 1985, Sneaky Styly? Yeah, Sneaky Styly, or Freaky Styly. Boy, I read that wrong. And I would call this like a carryover from their last album as far as like how it sounds and everything. You know, it still has sort of that 70s funk vibe to it. So we start off here with Jungle Man, Hollywood Africa, which is a Meters cover. Never even heard of that band. American Ghost Dance, If You Want Me to Stay, that's a Sly and the Family Stone cover. You got Nevermind, not the Nirvana album. Freaky Styly. Let's see, Black Eyed Blonde, The Brothers Cup, Battleship, Lovin' and Touchin', Catholic Schoolgirls Rule, Sex Rap, 30 Dirty Birds, and Yertle the Turtle, whatever that's supposed to mean. And then, of course, you get your bonus tracks again. You got some demos, and then I don't know if it's a B-side, but you got Millionaires That Gets Hunger on a bonus track here. But like I said, sort of a carryover from the last one, I think. So then we move on to 1987's The Uplift Mofo Party Plan. And I really, as far as 80s Chili Peppers go, love this album. I feel like this is where they really started to pick up their signature sound here, like their signature style, so to speak. So here we start off with the song Fight Like the Brave. Damn good tune. Like, I feel like I missed out on a lot of gems here on this album. Never hearing it before, and then I heard it like a couple times and loved it. So, like I said, Fight Like the Brave. You got Funky Crime, Me and My Friends, Backwoods, Skinny Sweaty Man, Behind the Sun. You have a Stubbornian Homesick Blues, which was a Bob Dylan cover. This is a funny one. Party on Your Pussy. Of course, they have a censored version of it as Special Secret Song Inside. Yeah, that is a blunt title. You got No Chump Love Sucker, Walking On Down the Road, Love Trilogy, Organic Anti-Beat Box Band. And then, of course, we got a couple demos with that. But thus far, their best work so far within the first three, I think. For sure. So then we move on to Mother's Milk. Now, this would be where they started getting some exposure to mainstream. Like, not much. They had like one song that made it out to the radio. Now, very provocative looking cover with, objects and people covering, the woman's chesticles. But in this album, here we are in 1989, we got Good Time Boys. We have their famous cover, Higher Ground, which was originally Stevie Wonder. We have Subway to Venus, Magic Johnson, Nobody Weird Like Me, Knock Me Down. I like that song, Knock Me Down. You got Taste the Pain, Stone Cold Bush. You got a cover of Fire, which was Jimi Hendrix. Then we have Pretty Little Ditty, and it's worth noting about this one, the little riff you hear in this sounds like a Butterfly by Crazy Town, because Crazy Town actually sampled this, and I didn't know that until I actually heard this album. So kind of like 10 years apart on that, maybe 10, 11, 12 years apart there. But yeah, so Crazy Town actually got their riff from this song. You got Punk Rock Classic, Sexy Mexican Maid, and Johnny Kick a Hole in the Sky. And another good solid one there, I must say. So then we're going to move on to 1991's Blood Sugar Sex Magic. Had to figure out what order to say that in. Alright. Now, I would say this is definitely their breakout album for sure. Lots of recognizable hits. Probably their best-selling album to this point. I would say their most commercially successful album. So, here we start off with The Power of Equality. If You Have to Ask. Really popular one, Breaking the Girl. You got Funky Monk's Suck My Kiss, which is a real good one. I Could Have Lied. Mellowship Stinky in B major. The Righteous of the Wicked. You have the very popular one, Give It Away Now. You got this title track, Blood Sugar Sex Magic. We have Under the Bridge. I would say the most popular song off this album. Naked in the Rain. Apache Rose Peacock. The Greeting Song. My Lovely Man. Sir Psycho Sexy. And the last track, They're Red Hot. And then, of course, we got a couple of bonuses here. Little Miss Lover, and they did Castles Made of Sand, which was Jimi Hendrix originally. Well, both of those are actually Jimi Hendrix. It's also worth mentioning that they had a pretty big hit on a B-side of one of their singles. The Give It Away single, it's like the third issue of that single. You have the song Soul to Squeeze, which that song in itself actually blew up to big popularity. I'm surprised it never landed on an album. Should have been. They should have actually made this a bonus track on this album, honestly. So, moving on, 1995. Of course, at this point, we're at the peak of the grunge era. So, we have the album One Hot Minute in 1995. And here we have the song Warped. That's the opening track to it. Very good song. Kind of on the heavier side. And then we have Aeroplane, which was popular. We have Deep Kick. We have My Friends, which I would say would be the most popular song off of this. Coffee Shop, P, One Big Mob, Walkabout, Tearjerker, One Hot Minute, title track. Falling into Grace, Shall It Be Thy Game, and Transcending. And then when you get the bonus tracks, you get Melancholy Mechanics, Let's Make Evil, Stretch You Out, and the song Bob. And all in all, not a bad follow-up to the last one. But I didn't like it as much as the last one, but yeah, a pretty good follow-up to it. So then, moving along, I do got to give honorable mention to the song Love Roller Coaster, which came out in 96. It was for the Beavis and Butthead Do America soundtrack. And another cover that's based off of a 70s soul song. It was originally done by the Ohio Players, so right there's a direct influence to the 70s funk that they influence off of. So it's kind of like that song on Higher Ground were a direct influence from it. So then, moving on, we have a very popular album from 1999, Californication. And this one got a hell of a lot of airplay, had lots of singles, and dare I say, a couple of them being overplayed. So here, we start off with Around the World. That's a good track. You got Parallel Universe, the very popular song, Scar Tissue. Another popular one, Other Side. Then we have Get On Top. And of course, the title track, which was also popular, Californication. You got Easily. You got Porcelain. You got Emit Remes. I Like Dirt. This Velvet Clove. Savior. Purple Stain. Right on Time. And we end with Road Trippin'. And all in all, not a bad album. They were kind of getting away from like the earlier 90s alternative, and they sort of want more of like dare I say it, dad rock. But I mean, not a bad album. I didn't really hit anything in it, so moving on to 2002. We're in the 2000s now. We have the album By the Way. And here again, lots of singles. And that's the thing. I mean, they got real popular in like very early 90s, like right there with like Stone Temple Pilots and Nirvana and Alice in Chains. And at this point, we're like right almost at the peak of nu metal. And here they are still holding their own. It's, kind of similar to like Tom Petty going into the 90s and still laying down some popular tracks. Very legendary. So, we start off here with the title track, By the Way. We have, Universally Speaking, This Is the Place, Dosed, Don't Forget Me, the Zephyr Song, Can't Stop, that was a real popular one. I Could Die For You, Midnight, Throw Away Your Television, Carbon, Tear, On Mercury, Minor Thing, Warm Tape, and Venice Queen. And then, if you get the bonuses, in Japan you got Time, and then on iTunes you got Runaway and Bicycle Song. And no, I don't believe that's a Queen cover. I believe that was called Bicycle Race. But here again, a good solid, alternative dad rock type of album. So then, I'll mention briefly about the Greatest Hits compilation. That was in 2003, just because, like many other bands that do a Greatest Hits compilation, they'll do a new song or two, and and put it out there. So here the popular song off of this was Fortune Faded. Not a bad single at all. And then they also released another one called Save the Population. And of course you get all the hits that were before this. But they only covered anything back to like Mother's Milk. They didn't cover anything that was like any further back than that. I feel like they missed a lot of good gems in that era. It's almost like, you know, they're keeping the 80s, like the first 3 albums, like underground, and then from like Mother's Milk on, they're really promoting it. But that's kind of my take on that. So then we move on to Stadium Arcadium, and 2006. It's a double album. That's right. So here again, 5 singles, 5 very popular singles. So we start off on disc 1. We got Day in California and Snow, Hey-O, 2 popular tracks. You got Charlie, title track, Stadium Arcadium. You got Humpty Bump. I don't know what that means, but use your imaginations. You got She's Only 18. That's after Humpty Bump. What are they thinking? And then you got Slow Cheetah, Torture Me, Strip My Mind. Yeah, I bet they're stripping something else earlier on there. Especially in Michigan. Warlocks, Come On Girl, Wet Sand, and Hey. That's only disc 1. Disc 2, you got The Christian Smile, Tell Me Baby, which was real popular. Hard to Concentrate, 21st Century, She Looks to Me, Ready Made, If, Make You Feel Better, Animal Bar, So Much I, Storm in a Teacup, We Believe, Turn It Again, and Death of a Martian. And yeah, this album actually, they did have to put it on 2 discs because of how long it was. There was no way they could fit it on 1. But, I mean, I feel like that this album here, it wasn't bad, but it's almost like it overstayed its welcome. They could have just, I think what they could have done is like trim the fat and just made it like a 1-disc album and maybe a couple B-sides off of it. But I didn't hate it. So moving on here, we had a 5-year break from the studio. We have 2011's I'm With You. On the cover, it looks like a fly is breeding with a pill. Kind of weird. So, what do we got here song-wise? Monarchy of the Roses, Factory of Filth, Brennan's Death Song, Ethiopia, Annie Wants a Baby, Look Around, The Adventures of Rain Dance Maggie, Did I Let You Know, Goodbye Hooray, Happiness Loves Company, Police Station, Even You Brutus, Meet Me at the Corner, and Dance Dance Dance. So here, I would say the most popular 2 songs off of this album would be Look Around and the breakout song to this album, The Adventures of Rain Dance Maggie. So, not really bad tunes. And of course, you know, here we're in the 2010s at this point. So, not the best. I don't hate it. So then, this point, 2013, we have the I'm With You sessions, I'm Beside You. And basically, this is a bunch of leftover tracks from the previous album. So, we'll go over the tracks here. And it's kind of weird. They released the EP as a limited edition, and then what they did is they went through and released like a single and a B-side of these songs. Kind of made it like, you know, different parts. But here, we'll go over it anyway. It's like a full album, so here we have Strange Man, Long Progression, Magpies on Fire, Victoria Machinery, and then we have Never As Long Time, Love of Your Life, The Sunset Sleeps, Hometown Gypsy, and Pink as Floyd. And then, moving on, we have Your Eyes Girl, In Love Dying, Catch My Death, How It Ends. And then, the last group, we have Brave from Afar. This is the Kit, Hanali, and Open Slash Close. And, the album, it was okay. I'm kind of glad they didn't include any of this in the original album, but it's not too bad. So then, coming up next, we move on to 2016. We have The Getaway. And here, I feel like here they really started to get mellow and a little more, I'm not going to say poppy or anything, but definitely not as edgy. I'll put it like that. So, of course, here we have the title track, The Getaway. We have Dark Necessities, not a bad track. We Turn Red, The Longest Wave, Goodbye Angels, Sick Love, Go Robot, which I would say is like the other popular single off of this, Feasting on the Flowers, Detroit, This Trichondria, Encore, The Hunter, and Dream of a Samurai. And I really didn't listen to this enough, so I really don't know how I'm going to rate it. I mean, thus far, it was middle of the road. So then we move on to 2022. They actually did 2 albums this year, so my guess is they were probably in lockdown during COVID, and what better thing to do than record more material? So we have Unlimited Love from 2022. And here we start off with the song Black Summer, the breakout song off of this album. Really good song, love it. Here Ever After, Aquatic Mouth Dance, Not the One, Poster Child, The Great Apes, It's Only Natural, She's a Lover, These Are Always Ways, What You Thinkin', Bastards of Light, White Braids and Pillow Chair, One Way Traffic, Veronica, Let 'Em Cry, The Heavy Wing, and Tangelo. And then, of course, you get the bonus track, Never Flip. I like this better than the last album, and even the extra sessions. So they kind of changed their sound a little bit. Again, not so much heavy, but more refined, I guess. So then, literally 6 months later, they release Return of the Dream Canteen, still in 2022. So, in this one, we have Tip of My Tongue, we have Peace and Love, Reach Out, Eddie, Fake as Fuck, Bella, Roulette, My Cigarette, Afterlife, Shoot Me a Smile, Handful, The Drummer, Bags of Grins, and La 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 La, and Copper Belly, Carry Me Home, and In the Snow. And then if you get the bonus track, you got The Shape I'm Taking. So, yeah, that's pretty much the Red Hot Chili Peppers discography. I do gotta give, I forgot to mention this earlier, they had a lot of one-off tracks, it's kind of like Soul Squeeze, that was obviously a B-side. I gotta mention, they did a cover of Search and Destroy, which, that actually showed up on the Beavis and Butthead Experience soundtrack. So, twice they showed up with Beavis and Butthead. And then, what the hell was that other song they did? It was on Wayne's World. I know that much. Oh, I know what it was. It was called Sikamikenu. I can't even read that shit. But it was also on the Plasma Shaft EP, but originally from Wayne's World. There was that scene whenever, Wayne and Garth struck their big TV deal, and so Wayne's driving down the road in the Murphmobile with Cassandra in the passenger seat, and he's like, I think I'll put on some music, and he flips on the CD player, and this song comes on, and it was part of, the $5,000 that they got for this deal for their show. But like I said, I never did get to see them live, so I really can't say anything about that. And I wasn't really hardcore into them or anything. I mean, like Blood Sugar Sex Magic was like, I would say, you know, the top album right there. I've had that album since probably the 2000s, so I really didn't catch on to them until a little bit later. So now it's time to start rating them, start ranking them. So how will we do this? So we're definitely going to do 80s Red Hot Chili Peppers. We're definitely going to do 90s Red Hot Chili Peppers. And then, of course, we get into the 2000s and the 2010s, 2020s. We got like 2 per decade there. I don't know, maybe I'll do like 2000s into mid-2010s. And then we'll do mid-2010s to the 2020s. So, okay, 80s Red Hot Chili Peppers. Probably my least favorite would be the self-titled album. Didn't hate it, but I guess they were just like, getting their feet wet in the industry. My favorite album from this era would be the Uplift Mofo Party Plan. Loved every track on it. Very catchy. Like how I really think they could have got popular off of this album, in my opinion, if they would have struck the right deal. And Mother's Milk was definitely a close second. Love that one too. So, going into the 90s, hands down, Blood Sugar Sex Magic. And my least favorite there would be probably Californication. A little bit overplayed there. So then, ranking from 2000 to 2015, we have 3 albums there. I would say probably my favorite there would be Stadium Arcadium. Not a bad album. By the way, I would say it was overplayed a little bit. A couple of the tracks were. I would say, like, By the Way and Californication were sort of like, the same sounding and everything. And then I'm With You, not memorable. So I'm going to rate that one the last one in that era. Now for the late 2015 to now, let's see. Unlimited Love, I would say that's the best one of the 3. Least favorite, probably The Getaway. But, yeah, so that's my thoughts on the Red Hot Chili Peppers. And I'm amazed that they have stuck it out through all the modern day eras of rock. But maybe we'll see more material from them later, I don't know. But, yeah. So, coming up next is a much more modern band with a female vocalist. So, yeah, stay tuned for that.